بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Now, after that definition of qiyas and the application of qiyas that we went through, we're prepared to talk about al-mutlaq wal-muqayyad, because the relationship between them is the illat al-hukm, is the cause of the ruling. Remember that. Imam al-Haramain says, wal-muqayyadu bi-sifa, after talking about the connected evictors. Now he moves into this section because why? Mutlaq and muqayyad are not am and khas, but they're so close to one another. We have a great axiom in Usul al-Fiqh, مَا اقْتَرَبَ الشَّيْءُ يُعْطَى حُكْمُهُ. When something draws near to something else, it takes its ruling. خلاص? So he says, وَالْمُقَيَّدُ بِالصِّفَةِ. It's very important that he says بِالصِّفَةِ, because that, if you think about it, if you understand what he's saying, will show you the difference between mutlaq, and am. Then the am is directing to some of the afrad of something. So therefore, its afrad are going to be the outcome of the takhsis, evicting some of those afrad. Mutlaq is the essence of something that's unrestricted, so therefore it's going to be restricted with a quality of that essence. So if I say rajulun, that's mutlaq. But I say rajulun tawilun, or rajulun mu'minun, rajulun muslimun, rajulun tawilun, rajulun saminun, rajulun nahifun, rajulun rahimun. I'm bringing in all of these attributes of rajul. So now I'm restricting that unrestricted thought. Rajul, man, to what? Muslim man, believing man, tall man. I'm not getting rid of the afrad. I am actually limiting the, if you will, the unrestricted by attributes, by adjectives. And that's why Imam al-Haramain, mashallah, in his language, he says, وَالْمُقَيَّدُ بِالصِّفَةِ, أي بالصفات. بالصفات. Dr. Mahmoud Abdul Rahman Abdul Mun'im is a great professor in Al-Azhar. He has some amazing lectures on YouTube, and his books are phenomenal. Alhamdulillah that me and a group of brothers were able to read, like Sheikh Yasser Fahmi was with us, Sheikh Uthman Umarji, some others. We read the waraqat to him years ago in his home. And he said to me something. He said, Dalalatul umum, dalalatul kulliyya. You need to write this down. Dalalatul umum, dalalatul kulliyya. That the am, it signifies an entirety. Right? Kulliyya, kullu ala kulli shay'in qadir, for example. Kulli shay'in qadir. Dalalat al-mutlaq, dalalatul badaliyya. That dalalat al-mutlaq is related to badal. Because you say, رجل مؤمن, هذا بعض من كل. If you speak Arabic, you learned al-ajurumiyya, that's why you should learn it. البدل بعض من كل. رأيت الناس المسلمين. I saw human beings, Muslims. So I restricted the unrestricted idea of all humanity with what? Muslims. An attribute, the presence of Islam. If you think about what I just said, you're going to easily understand something, that mutlaq, dalalatul mutlaq ala al-haqiqah, that it's on the essence, ala that of something. That's why Sidi Abdullah in Maraqi Saudi says, ما على الذات بلا قيد يدل فمطلق. You should memorize this, ya jama'a. ما على الذات بلا قيد يدل فمطلق وباسم جنس قد عقل. He says, rahimahullah, that love, ma lafz, directs to the essence, bila qaid, without any restriction, yadul, evidences it, فمطلق. That is mutlaq. وباسم جنس قد عقل. It's a long discussion. Some ulama said mutlaq is ism jins, yani, or they call it ism jins, معليش يعني. So mutlaq is something that evidences the essence of something. That's why, mashallah, al-Baydawi in Minhaj. Ask Allah one day we can study the Minhaj together, ya brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah. Imam al-Baydawi says, wallahi, look at al-Baydawi's genius in al-Minhaj. He says, إن لكل شيء حقيقة هو ما بها هو. إن لكل شيء حقيقة هو ما بها هو. I remember when I first read this, I was lost, man. And we studied this with Dr. Salah Din al-Zaydan, rahimahullah. Great sheikh, great teacher in Al-Azhar. Allah yarhamuh, passed away a few years ago. إن لكل شيء حقيقة هو ما بها هو. That everything has its essence by which it exists, its makeup. Then he says, وإن دل عليها فمطلق. يعني وإن كان اللفظ دالا عليها فمطلق. If you find a phrase that its dalil directs you to the thing's essence, to its haqiqah, that's mutlaq. وإن عليها مع وحدة معينة فالمعرف. And if you see something that directs you to something's essence, but along with that is something specifically related to that essence that is known, then this is mu'arraf or ma'rifah. Mu'arraf يعني. So for example, Zayd, Suhaib. So mutlaq would be insan, yani human. Mu'arraf would be what? Zayd, Suhaib. ومن غيرها فالنكرة. يعني ومن غير he says وغير المعين فالنكرة. And if it directs to something, its essence, but without one of those sort of known components like Zayd, Suhaib, whatever, this is nakira. And here maybe someone says, what's the difference between nakira and mutlaq? Because nakira, I need you to remember this. And forgive me for making this hard for you guys, but push yourselves. Inshallah khair, we can do it bi'idhnillah. If there's any weakness, it's me, it's not you. Because this is not easy to teach. And we need to study Usul al-Fiqh like this. Because we want to build muftis and people who are engaging Islamic law, the project of Islamic law in the English language, so that we can serve our communities. There are some scholars of Usul al-Fiqh who say that there's no difference between nakira, tanween, and mutlaq. In fact, some scholars of Usul al-Fiqh, they say that mutlaq is nakira. Nakira means tanween. If you study Ajurmi, you know it's the terminology of the Kufiyin. Yani. However, there is a subtle difference that the Malikis and other scholars of Usul note, and that is that when I use tanween, like if I say Ra'aytu rijalan, I saw men. There's no way you assume I mean I saw all men. That's impossible. A'udhu billah. I'm not alimun hakim. So then the restriction of the use of nakira on my part is in my mind. So it's not truly mutlaq. Khalas? So he says, وَمِنْ غَيْرِ الْمُعَيَّنِ فَالنَّكِرَةِ. So just don't make it too hard now, but remember this. There is a subtle, because you're going to see, for example, I saw some writings of Sheikh Jamal ad-Din Zarabuza. He basically says, mutlaq is nakira. Barakallahu fihi, that's a strong opinion amongst many great scholars of Usul al-Fiqh. However, what I was taught by my teachers, and also the opinion of the Malikis and other great scholars of Usul, is that there is a subtle difference which is related to the imagination, the idea of the speaker, because none of us are ever really to invoke a true mutlaq because we don't know all the unrestricted things. We're insan. So automatically there's something that's restricted there. Unless it's like a hyperbole, for example. So remember this, that there is a subtle difference between a nakira and mutlaq related to what's called dhitni and khariji. Dhitni in my mind, khariji outside of my mind, exists in the physical world. فالمطلق is not bila qayd. It's not restricted by anything, even the one who's thinking. That's why pay attention to the definition of Sidi Abdullah and Maraqi Saud. ما دل على ذات بلا قيد. بلا قيد, khariji, dhitni, outward or inward, in the person's thoughts and minds, or in the physical world, yadul, فمطلق. Then he says, وَمَا وَحْدَةٍ مَعْدُودَةٍ فَالْعَدَدِ. I think al-Baydawi says, and if it directs to a certain number of things, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, أربعة شهداء, this is related now to numbers. It's not am, it's not mutlaq. And then finally he says, وَإِن دَلَّ عَلَى كُلِّ جُزْئِيَّاتِهَا فَالْعَامِ. And if it directs to all of the components of something, not its essence, its components, this is am. So am directs to the afrad. Mutlaq directs to the haqiqa, the mahiyya. So I'll say it in English. Am directs to the components of something. So I'm al-mu'minun, I'm encompassing those believers, all the people who believe. Khalas. Whereas mutlaq is on the essence of something. On the essence of something. And this is the difference between al-mutlaq wal-muqayyad. Next time, insha'Allah ta'ala, we're going to talk about, mutlaq and am, and muqayyad and khas. Khas is restricting the afrad. Muqayyad is restricting the unrestricted with attributes, with qualities of its essence, related to its essence. Barakallahu feekum. Next time we're going to talk about the application of this and its relationship to qiyas. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.